Yo, Sabji, I want to give you a couple of tips on corners because I feel like it. I'll show you something. Look, if you look over there, you see a double extend. The measurements for that is 112. This is what I came up with. So what I do is I mark 112. And usually there's a lot of them. There's more than one. So 112 is marked. I'll see my piece like this, right? There's the external. Just like that. When I finish cutting that, my 112 is right here. I'll mark it on the corners. I'll slide that piece to my next external, and then I'll cut it. Just like that. Look, that's my double external, 112. It should be exactly 112 from one end to the other end. It's exactly 112. I hope you can see that. So now you're probably wondering, when are you ever gonna use that? Well, like, how do you take this knowledge and apply it to maximize your speed? Don't worry, I've got your back. I'll show you why you need that much and why I do this all the time. This is how I speed everything up. I have a lot of measurements, too much measurements, okay? But I want to cut two pieces here. Cornice length is 4,800. 2,200 plus 2,200 means I have an extra 300 little piece of cut. And this is what you do, double internal, double internal. This is how you speed up cutting corners. Check this out. So pretend this is the 4,800 and I want to cut my two pieces that I showed you. The first thing you do, you see your corners down, double internal, cut like this. You put it down like you would, and you measure, right? Pretend we got 22, 47, whatever it is. So I'm gonna go 400. I'm gonna sit it down, and I'm gonna cut my second internal, right? Now, if you ever cut any corners before in the past, you will know that once you cut your internal, you cut an external, right? I don't wanna explain it too much. Watch my tutorial on how to cut corners. So, there's my first double internal piece. But then look, I've got an external on this side. And if I want to cut a double internal again, I've got to cut another internal, measure from that internal to cut my other internal. But that's a waste of time, especially when you got a lot of corners to cut. This is what I do. Remember that little mark? Now I'm thinking, okay, I got to cut 112, right? I have a small piece that I got to cut a 112. Like I said, I usually mark the mark before I start cutting. That way I have it there ready to go. But now I'm remembering I gotta cut that little piece and I gotta cut an internal of this. So I'm gonna slide my corners right onto my mark right there. So now I'm on my 112. I'm simply gonna cut it. Remember, I haven't got my tape out yet. Now I got my 112. This is where you use that trick. That's that right there. But then I've also cut my internal, okay? I've cut my internal too. So then I proceed to measure like so, right? Whatever the measurement is, I'll finish cutting, just like this. And then look, now we just cut this many pieces with that many miters on one piece very fast using that one little trick where you just mark that little mark there. I'll give you another tip because I'm very good at this. Right, check this out. Let's say, for example, you want to cut this here. Typically when you're cutting corners, you gotta use your brain. You gotta do the mathematical equations in your brain, right? For example, the piece is 4,800 and I know that 2,700, I can have an off cut big enough to get this piece here as well. Or I can actually have an off cut big enough to get 1,800, 27, 18. I can get two pieces in one big piece. So then how do you do this? How do you cut corners very fast? I'll show you right now. Pretend this is the 4,800 piece, right? For example, I got my external, that's what that means, the external on the right. So this is the big piece, 4,800. I'm gonna cut my internal. I'm gonna measure 2,700, right? That's 2,700. Come back here. I'm gonna cut that right there. Right? Now check this out. Because that's my external big piece cut, and the next one, 1,800, is a double internal. Now look, because I've cut the external, I've cut an internal in the same cut. Therefore, what I gotta do from there is just measure my 1,800, just like that, right? Now if I cut that there, and I'm happy there, but I have a little off cut that I can still use, and again I'm marking my stuff right there, and it's big enough to get that part right there, I'm gonna get my pencil and just mark wherever the mark is, come back and cut. You get what I'm saying? You want one more tip? I got another one. I do this every day, man. This is too easy, right? When you're cutting corners, you have so much measurements like this. It gets confusing, it gets messy, you don't know where you've cut, you don't know where you are, where you're going, what's going on. This is what I do. The best tip I came up with was to always start with the biggest piece. For example, if I come into a room like this is one room right here, right? I gotta cut 3760, 3759, 30, 26, 30, 27. I'm not just gonna start cutting randomly. I'm gonna start with the biggest piece. I'm gonna go to the next biggest piece. And I'm gonna go to the following biggest piece, to the other biggest piece. The measurements and the corners they deliver to the job site is the exact amount that you need for the job site. So if you cut things wrong, you're gonna run out of corners and you're gonna have to drive 2 hours to go pick up some more corners, wasting your time and money for that sake, right? But it gets better than that. I got your back. Check this out right here, right? We have so much corners here, just too much going on. For example, pretend that this is the house and the corners you get delivered is the corners you need to cut. Remember that. How do you not waste your corners? Doesn't matter whether you're doing cornicing or architraves or whatever you're doing. This helps anybody who is in the business of construction. You got so many measurements. So what I do is I start with the biggest room I got. For example, this is the biggest room because all the pieces are 3700, 32, 30, right? This is the biggest room. So I'm gonna cut all of these first. All the offcuts I'll put on the wall. I'll come back and I'll find the next biggest room. Maybe this one's the next biggest room. I'll do the same thing over here. And then I'll proceed to go down to the smallest room until I get to the end. Because by the time I get to the smallest room, all the offcuts I've cut that are on the wall, I can grab those offcuts and use them to cut whatever I need to cut. For example, 491, I can get that out of this one. 3760, I can get 1300 out of that one in the same piece. But I don't want to start cutting the little pieces first because I can't get the big piece. You understand what I'm saying? Make sure you follow, like, subscribe. If you want to learn more about drywalling, you can definitely purchase the course. I'm gonna drop the price down by a big discount, man. Listen, man, this is what I do. I do this on a daily, and I just thought I'd give you a little quick demonstration to how you can proceed to progress and producing better production in order to make good currencies convert in your own household. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. I'll catch you in the next video. Adios and peace out, my G. Thank you.